Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome to another card video. This week I used the new Stampin' Up! Background stamp called Poppies, and I inked it up with some Memento Black Tuxedo ink and stamped it on some Nina white cardstock because I'm going to be using Copic markers today. So I'm just going to get right to it. I have 3 different colors of violet, and I'll put those numbers on my blog. And I'll show you a few of these flowers. I'm going to use the same technique I always use, which is petal by petal, and that kind of breaks it down into manageable pieces. And so for each petal I color the whole thing with the lightest color, and then I go back in with the darkest color, and I usually color the inside of it, and then if there's any shadow because of other petals on top, so you can see there's that petal to the left that's going to be covering the one that I'm coloring right now, and so I'll get a little bit of a shadow behind that. And so when I put in those dark, I take a medium and I color next to that dark color, and then I go back in and shade the whole thing and blend it with the lightest again. So I'm going to do that petal by petal. Now this petal has kind of an edge that's kind of flipped up a little bit, and so I'm going to make sure that you'll see when I take this dark color right there that I color a shadow underneath where that petal flips over. And now I'm going back in with my medium color and the light color. This petal also has a little piece that flips up a little bit, and I'm going to do the same thing with that. See, that's my shadow underneath that flipped part of the petal. And I go in with the medium, and you'll get some more dark shading on the edge of the petal because it's going to kind of curl downward a little bit, and so you're going to get a little bit of a shadow when you think about it, because my light is coming from behind me kind of to the right, so it's shining from the right down. Now this last one is going to be mostly dark because it's in the shadow of the petal that's on top of it, because my light is coming from the right. Now here I am with the colorless blender, and I usually do this with petals just to add a little bit more dimension. So I remove some color to where the light would be shining the most, like on the the part where the petals kind of round out. You'll get a little bit of a light reflection there. And so, but my colorless blender doesn't work, and I didn't realize this. I kept coloring and coloring and coloring. I'm like, this isn't working, and but I just kept doing it. So the whole card I'm using this colorless blender, and I know that the color is not removing at all, but yet I keep continuing to use it. So after I realized that it wasn't working, which was after the card was done, well, I kind of knew something wasn't right, and so I made an emergency trip to Michael's and got myself a new one. But the picture on my blog actually still has it with the non-blended version. And I'll show you where I used it later, and you'll see in the card photo that you can kind of see where things are not blended very well because my colorless blender wasn't working. Anyway, that is a must-have one, is the 0, because it allows you to remove color. Okay, I sped this up a little bit so I can finish up a few more flowers here. But if you watch, you'll see I use pretty much the same technique. And there I go with the one that's not working. So on all those flipped petals where the edges flip out, that's where I'm going to be removing color. And this is the last flower that I'm going to do, and then I'll show you the other pieces of this stamp and how I colored it. This petal actually is facing the other direction, so the darkest area is going to be at the bottom instead of in the center, because you're looking at the underside of the petal instead of the top of the petal. Alright, I took a Y15 and I just colored the insides, and then I'm coloring these buds green, and the colors I'm using are YG21 all over, which is my lightest, and then YG17 for the left side where the darkest area is, and then I come in with a YG23 for my medium color. And these stems are pretty thin. There's really not enough rim to do some shading, so I just colored the whole thing using the medium color that I used in the buds. And this is where I took W1, which is like a warm gray, and on the left side of each flower and each stem, each bud, I'm putting a little shadow, and then I'm taking my 0 colorless blender and I'm blending it on the edge of it, which it doesn't do anything, so you can look at my photo on my blog and see that it doesn't really blend. But normally I would blend that out a little bit so that it doesn't look like just a gray line. Okay, so now I'm working on my background, and I'm using Dusty Concord, and I'm using my ink applicator to apply some ink. And then I went back and realized I really kind of liked it cloudy, so I went back and I added some darker spots so that it wouldn't be a uniform color. I kind of like that. This is a background stamp by Stampin' Up! Called Netting, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of the envelope pattern stamp by Hero Arts. I really like it. It's a really subtle background, so it really just kind of fades into the background, yet it provides a little bit of texture, because I really didn't want to distract from the flowers. And here I am. I have to draw the line around everything, so I'm just using a ruler this time because it's pretty clean, this card. And I'm just going to draw a little line on every side. This is the Thank You Kindly stamp set that Stampin' Up! Discontinued, and I just could not part with it, so it was not on the list of stamps that I was selling last week. And I punched it out with the Modern Label punch, and now I'm just inking the edges because I didn't want to go through the process of layering it, so I just inked the edges as a little bit of a shortcut. I'm cleaning my mat, which is really easy to do. This is a great mat. It's the Ranger craft mat. And I'm just adhering all my pieces together, and my little thank you sentiment is going to have some foam adhesive on the back. And then I'm going to adhere it to a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch folded piece of cardstock. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next week. Thanks for watching.